Sorry, it's loading. Okay, go ahead, Phil.
All right, a call to order the Finance Committee meeting in the City of San Ramon for May 11th. Go ahead, Christina.
Prior to roll call, I would like to make an announcement to the committee regarding this teleconferencing of this meeting. I would like to make clear for the record, and it should be reflected in the minutes, that the governor has issued 2 executive orders relaxing the requirements pertaining to remote meetings under the Brown Act. To facilitate social distancing and to slow the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, the executive orders authorize state and local legislative bodies, including this committee, to hold public meetings by teleconference more easily. These provisions will remain in effect during the period in which state or local public health officials have imposed or recommended social distancing measures. The order allows the committee to proceed when its members participating electronically or telephonically. Committee members are no longer required to be physically present in a meeting in order to participate or to establish a quorum. The agency must provide a means for the public to observe the meeting and to provide the public an opportunity to comment. The opportunities for public observation and participation must be and have been included in the meeting notice. The procedures adopted for this meeting have been established to meet or exceed the standards set forth in the order. For more information, please refer to Governor Newsom's executive orders N-25-N20. I will now take roll, after which I would like the chair to recognize me again in order to confirm certain matters. Vice Chair Perkins.
Here.
And Chair Alone.
Here.
I have 3 questions that I will ask the committee members, and I'll ask all 3 at the same time. If the answer is yes to all 3 questions, please say yes and raise your hand. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call, clearly? And are you satisfied, based on facial or voice recognition or otherwise, that everyone here representing themselves to be a committee member is actually the person they are representing themselves to be?
Yes.
Yes, and I'd like to add that no one can look as bored by this as Scott Perkins can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The record should reflect that I received affirmative answers from each committee member present to all 3 questions. And finally, I would like to advise the committee that any votes taken during this meeting must be taken by roll call.
Right, okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Thank you, Christina. Item number 2 on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any members of the public present?
For those that are in the audience, if you'd like to speak, please press the raise your hand button at this time, or *9 on your telephone. And it doesn't look like we have any requests to speak.
Okay. I'd like to remind everyone on the call to not do what one of our esteemed members of the Supreme Court did. I don't know if you saw that, but there was a toilet flush in the middle of the Supreme Court hearings on. So Stephen, be careful. All right, so item 3, approval of minutes.
Look good to me.
I agree. Do you need to take roll on that, Christina? Or
we can because you guys are voting on it.
okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Perkins?
I vote yes.
And I will vote yes as well. So
that.
that's a big 2-0.
Thank you.
Good hockey score. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, draft 5-year capital improvement program for 2020 to 2025. Staff report by Maria. Hello, Maria.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be presenting our 5-year CIP. Sorry it's a bit late, but I think we've got a good presentation for you today. So if I could get my screen to share, I can show the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
I
Okay,
can.
wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay. So here we have the 5-year CIP and the capital budget that I'll be presenting today. What we'll be talking about today is reviewing the process for approvals. I'll introduce the new CIPs for 2021. I'll go over the capital budget for 2021, as well as a 5-year CIP from 2020 to 2025. I'll summarize the revisions from the prior year CIPs, and then I will highlight projects that are in the 5-year CIP. I'll give a quick update on the infrastructure maintenance fund and how it's performing. Talk a little bit about the Doherty Valley CSA funded CIP, and then I will go over the next steps. So far, we've only presented to the infrastructure committee, specifically the 5-year pavement management plan, as well as the Doherty Valley tree planting annual work plan. So today with the finance committee presenting you this information, and then tomorrow we will be presenting the unfunded CIP projects for 2021 at the council budget workshop. The following day on Wednesday, we'll be presenting to the Parks Commission, the parks and facilities. And then the following week on May 21st, the Transportation Advisory Committee will review the circulation and signals portion of the CIP. We'll come back again to the City Council to present the full 5-year CIP and the capital budget. The Planning Commission will take a look at our CIP on June 2nd for approval of general plan conformance. And then on June 9th, the council approval of the budget, which will include the 5-year CIP. So this is just a quick reminder of our numbering system. It changed last year, so it is a little bit different. So I included this slide just as a cheat sheet. So when you're looking at your numbering systems, that you have something to look at. Okay, so our 4 new CIP projects that are being introduced into the 5-year CIP include these projects, and I have a slide for each one of them. So I'll just move ahead to the first one. The first one is the Doherty Station Community Center and Library Renovations Project. This is a new project in the facilities category for a funding of $2.5 million. This will be funded by the 2019 COP debt financing. We're requesting $500,000 in this coming fiscal year, and this is for the design to determine all the different aspects that we would like renovated in this building. The construction we anticipate starting in 21-22. The second project that is new to the CIP is the Local Roadways Safety Plan, or the LRSP. This is in the circulation category. We received funding in the amount of $72,000, and so we have a local match of $8,000 for a total of $80,000 project. This is a federal regulation that requires each state to have a strategic highway safety plan to address unique roadway safety needs. So what this plan will do is identify and analyze traffic safety problems and recommend safety improvements. And this will also help us with any future HSIP type grants that we would be applying for. Pavement management.
So this is something new, Maria?
Yes, that's correct. This is something new.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. So we have the Pavement Management 2025 that is added in the 5th year of the CIP for $4.6 million with the funding source of gas tax, Measure J, as well as the refuse vehicle impact fee. And it is consistent with what was presented to the Infrastructure Committee on May 6th. The 4th project is the San Ramon Olympic Pool and Aquatic Park Renovation Project in the facilities category. This is also funded by the 2019 COP debt financing. We requested an appropriation of $620,000 so we could move forward with the design and preparation for construction of the first phase of the pool work. And then we are requesting as part of the 2021 CIP of a $2.066 million. So there are a number of things happening here. We have the replastering of the 50-meter and the children's pool. We'll be replacing the children's play pool equipment. updating and renovating the building elements, including equipment, paint, flooring, restroom updates, locker room updates, lighting updates, have some compliance upgrades for ADA. We'll be replacing the slide and installing a fence around the lap pool. Okay, so moving on to the capital budget for fiscal year 2020-2021, there are a total of 67 projects that are being introduced. Some are active projects from the previous year, some are new, and some are programmed for this particular year. The appropriations are for $28.16 million, and the appropriation increase is mostly due to the certificate of participation funds that have been received. This slide looks at the expenditures by category. There are a total of 9 categories, and as you can see, the majority of the expenditures are in the circulation category. And looking at this graphically, you see that circulation is $21.23 million, and that covers the Alcosta Pavement Rehabilitation Project, the Bollinger Canyon Iron Horse Trail Project. We have the citywide bicycle enhancements, the Crow Canyon widening, and pavement management. So there are a number of projects that are associated with circulation. And then we have facilities for $3.31 million, and then signals for close to $2 million. This is looking at the expenditures by funding source. There are a total of 14 categories. One was added to this capital budget, which is the 2019 Certificate of Participation Funds. We thought it was important to call this out separately so we can track how these projects are doing, how the funding is going, and the status of the fund itself. Looking at this graphically, as you can see, the COP has the largest contribution of $10.87 million, followed by the alternative funding, gas tax and Measure J for pavement management projects, and SCC JIPA for $4 million, and that's for the Crow Canyon Road widening project. Looking specifically at the alternative funding, there's an allocation of $7.26 million. There are a number of projects that are funded by various different funding sources. So I've listed them all here. The Bollinger Canyon Road Iron Horse Trail overcrossing, $4.8 million, and that's the OBEG 2 grant. We have the Forest Home Farm structures. The Historic Foundation is contributing $40,000. Irrigation booster pump installation. There are a couple of sites that are at school parks. So the school district will provide their half of the share of the costs. Local roadway safety plan, that's the grant that we just received. The marquee installation at the transit center, which we are going to replace, those funds are coming from the transit sales revenue. The middle school teen center portables, this is at the Pine Valley. This is paid for out of the child care funds. Open space preservation, $500,000 from the FREA developer. Pavement management 2020, that's a refuse vehicle impact fee. Pedestrian enhancement devices, we received a TDA grant for $55,000, and then we have the recreation program facilities, equipment and replacement for $46,000 from cultural growth and equipment replacement. Here's a slide that shows the 2019 COP funding for $10.865 million, and these are all the projects that are being funded by this funding source, and these are for allocations for 2021. So we have the Bollinger Canyon Road Iron Horse Trail overcrossing, the bicycle network improvements, the ITS master plan, Doherty Station Community Center, and the San Ramon Olympic Pool and Aquatic Park renovations. Another funding source that I want to mention is the TRIP financing, that stands for Total Road Improvement Program. Staff is exploring this funding source. Robin is working with Eva and our consultants to look at this financing alternative. And the purpose of it will be to provide funding for both our Bollinger Canyon Road Iron Horse Trail overcrossing and provide funding for our paving projects. What it does is it borrows from the return to source Measure J funds. And what we're looking at right now is an 8.2 million total financial plan, with 4.2 million of that going to the Boulder Canyon Road pedestrian overcrossing. And that will help for cash flow to help accelerate the project, keep it on schedule. 4 million would go towards pavement management. This will reduce the funds for pavement management. However, it will give the upfront costs for pavement management so we can get more streets done sooner as well as worse streets done sooner. This will require CCTA revenue and action prior to finalization.
One question I have about that, and I guess Robin is exploring this. The Measure J return to source money is subject to compliance by San Ramon. And I'm wondering if they can, how could you be allowed to front money to somebody who has to prove that they're complying with something later? What would happen if San Ramon didn't? And San Ramon would not be eligible for the Measure J money.
Yeah, that's a very important question, which we have been talking about in detail to make sure that we stay in compliance. Otherwise, we won't move forward with it. And
or we'd have to write them a check, right? Really, okay. That's what would happen. Rather than not getting the money since we already had it, San Ramon would have to pay it back.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this slide here is what the 5-year CIP looks like over a 5-year period. The total financing is $86.989 million. And so you can see in the first year, the 8.16 million in 2021, and then it varies over the following 4 years. Looking at that by category, the 5-year CIP has most of the expenditures going towards circulation once again. Circulation includes the Boulder Canyon Road Iron Horse Trail overcrossing, pavement management, Crow Canyon Road widening, bicycle network improvements. The signals includes the ITS master plan, and then the facilities includes various improvements at the facilities, plus HVAC duct cleaning and repairs and equipment replacements at the aquatics. Looking at the expenditures by funding source, you see that the alternative funding of 22.36 million is the largest funding source, followed by gas tax and Measure J, and then by unidentified funding. Unidentified funding is for the ITS master plan. So that's partially funded by the 2019 COP, but we still need to identify the remaining funds. Alternative funding, again, is the Bollinger Iron Horse Trail overcrossing, pavement management, the refuse vehicle impact fee portion, El Costa payment rehabilitation funding. Okay, so we always do a summary of all the revisions of the existing projects, and we do that in detail in the CIP binder. But to generalize the changes, the projects are reprogrammed based on coinciding with current development projects, funding availability of the various funding sources, a change in project priorities, project scope, and completing whole building renovations at one time versus doing it piecemeal. That will reduce the overall disruption to public and increase cost efficiencies.
Along those lines with the whole building, when we finish the Dougherty Community Center, Dougherty Station Community Center, will we have completed the renovations of all of our major recreation facilities at that point?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So looking at the highlights for the 5-year CIP, starting in the circulation category, pavement management, which was presented to the Infrastructure Committee on May 6th. It has a total budget of 6.05 million from these various funding sources. Pavement management 2020 will treat a number of areas as listed on this slide. And as Robin spoke in the Infrastructure Committee, we are doing the construction, we're designing both 2021 and 2020 and 2021. And we hope to be able to do both years and get them both funded. But we will see what our funding allocations look like. We also have the El Costa Boulevard Rehabilitation Project for $5.08 million, currently under design. The 5-year outlook, we will be maintaining a PCI of 75, and the funding scenarios that were presented to the Infrastructure Committee continue to be the critical point assessment method approved for repairs. The funding is a refuse vehicle impact fee currently that is supplementing it. We have received to date 2.52 million, and then we have 1.5, a little over 1.5, which increases over the following years. And that is because the CPI inflation factor started to be applied to the numbers starting January of 2020. And as I previously mentioned, staff is, pardon me? And as I previously mentioned, staff is evaluating obtaining an $8.2 million trip load in coordination with the Measure J annual payments. Also under circulation, we have the Iron Horse Trail bike ped overcrossing at Bollinger Canyon Road. We have completed the environmental review. The agreement with CCTA is in place. We've selected our design consultant and cost estimator. So we are raring to go on the design, and Robin is heading that up, and the design is estimated to be completed January 2022. We have the debt financing, COP of 6.5 million and possible TRIP funding, and that would be applied to the full funding source of the Iron Horse Trail. Also scheduled is the Crow Canyon Road widening project from El Costa Boulevard to east of Doherty Road to the West Branch subdivision. The total project cost is 26.5 million, funded by SCC, GBA, and TIF. There are a number of projects that have been folded into this project because of all the various things that this project touches. So we combined it all in one, and now it is broken up into 2 phases. So phase 1 is El Costa to St. George. Phase 2 is St. George to east of Doherty Road. The final plan line has been approved and design is underway with utility relocations planning to start this coming fiscal year. Another project in the circulation category is the citywide bicycle network improvements and enhancements. This one's also funded by the 2019 Certificate of Participation for 1.01 million. And for 2021, we'll be installing bicycle improvements on Montevideo Drive from San Ramon Valley Boulevard to El Costa Boulevard. The design is taking place now, so construction will be 2021. And also in 2021, we'll be doing improvements on Doherty Road. That will be from Crow Canyon Road to Old Ranch Road, putting in a Class 2 buffered bike lane.
Buffered means a curb between?
A buffered means either a curb or it means a stripe. So it's like a double stripe, so it provides more of a gap between the road and the bicycle lane.
Thank you.
For the drainage category, we have our citywide drainage infrastructure repairs. We received COP funding in the amount of 500,000, as well as 135,000 for the drainage mitigation funding. In addition to that, we received a grant for $80,000 specific for our drainage infrastructure inventory and study, which we've been trying to get to. So we got some good funding so we can get that started. So besides that, for fiscal year 2021, our priority projects include the 36-inch culvert repair at DEERWOOD and Mill Creek, phase 2. We have some sediment removal and mitigation work in various locations. We have some work at South San Ramon Creek, access road improvements, and some miscellaneous storm drain repairs. Moving to facilities. So we have a number of projects here. We have our San Ramon Olympic Pool and renovation, and our Doherty Station and Doherty Station Library design. We have a few projects for the aquatics and equipment and replacement for SROP, as well as Doherty Valley Aquatic Center. Interior improvement amenities, Forest Home Farm structures. That entails painting of 3 buildings, as well as improvements to the grotto. And that's in coordination with the Historic Foundation. We have citywide HVAC, city facilities roof covering, and the City Hall configuration CIP, which is currently under design and will be brought forward to the council probably in the next couple of months for award of contract. Moving to landscape, we have the centralized irrigation system upgrade and the street landscape planting renovation projects. Most of that work is in the Doherty Valley area and on park sites. We have our Doherty Valley Tree Management Program for $1.22 million. That was allocated in mid-year of 1920, appropriations from the 2019 COP. And the annual plan was presented to the Infrastructure Committee. There is no funding being requested for 2020, 2021, since we just received the funding for this project. So as long as we entertain the 1.5, as long as we get through that year, and then we can review the needs for the following 2021, 22. And then we have improvements and repairs in various landscaping lighting zones, which Sean will be going over in the next agenda item. One of the projects that we see on probably daily is the Canyon Lakes Fountain conversion to landscaping project. So with the restrictions lifted on construction, we can get that project back going. And we expect to see activity there at the end of May. Start that up, and it'll be completed by the end of the year. The comprehensive street camera installation was brought forward to the council. That presentation was, so that allocation was in 1920. So that will be a project that will be completed this coming fiscal year. And then the open space preservation for $500,000 is the FOREA Preserve contribution as identified in the conditions of approval of development after the 300 permits have been issued. Okay, for the parks category, we have the citywide parks amenities, replacements and improvements throughout the various parks in the city. Fountain repairs and replacement. Those are related to the Bollinger Canyon Fountain LED lights, Central Park, Children's Fountain, various items there, Meadow Fountain Pump, and the Rancho San Ramon Children's Display Pump. For the public art in the parks, for $40,000, we have the library art piece that will be installed this fiscal year. For the Ring and Rock Fountain conversion at Central Park, again, with construction restrictions lifted, we'll be starting to pick that back up again, looking at completion in the fall of 2020. The Park Master Plan is part of the CIP, and as you know, that will be finalized and complete in fiscal year 2021. And as a reminder, the park projects are funded by the Park Development Fund, so they are dependent on fees that are paid for by developers. So projects are scheduled accordingly based on the funding that we anticipate coming in. In the signals category, we have the Bollinger Canyon, Crow Canyon Roads traffic signals, the ATS-PM, for $827,000. We were able to obtain the IDEA grant for over $500,000. The contract was awarded in January 2020, and we anticipate completing this by December 2020, by the end of this calendar year. And that will include a total of 43 intersections.
Remind me what ATS-PM stands for.
It stands for Automated Traffic Signal Performance Measures.
Okay, what's that going to do?
So it will improve, well, really what it does is it provides a software system that is more modernized and will be part of the controllers that are upgraded, and they will be connectivity, and they'd be able to talk better with each other, all the signals.
Okay, well, we spent a couple of $1 million to have an improved system, and this lays on top of that.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it'll be even better, huh?
It will be even better.
Okay.
In my 8+ years on the council, that may be the first time that Councilmember Perkins did not know what an acronym was.
Thank you.
Okay, the next signal project is the citywide intelligent transportation system upgrade. And we have an allocation of 1.5 million from the COP. The work that will be done this fiscal year, it's already under design, is to do the work on Bollinger Canyon Road, the connection from Talavera all the way to Doherty Road North. Several more projects under signals. We have our pedestrian enhancement devices for 240,000 with the TDA grant. There are 2 locations for the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. One is at San Ramon Valley Boulevard at the theater, and the other one is at Monarch Road at Japonica Way. The radar speed display signs for 31,000. There is another one that the Freed Preserve is required to put in as part of their conditions of approval. So that will be installed, as well as a location to be determined by the city. Transportation has a number of priority locations. They will be working with the Transportation Advisory Committee to determine the location. And then finally, we have the traffic signal improvements and enhancements for 200,000, and we'll continue replacing all the various components of our signals, including we will be doing some signal pole painting.
That's good, because the one at Doherty and Monarch looks awful.
Okay, so all the funds, they were all reviewed based on the expenditures that we plan on over the next 5 years. All the funds are balanced. The infrastructure maintenance fund, we are not requesting any general fund contribution of the 1.5 in 2021, and that is all because of the 2019 COP. What I did was go through all the numbers and reallocate everything, regrouped everything to its building, and based on that, the infrastructure maintenance fund has been relieved of the needs, at least for now. The Park Development Fund, it is also whole, but it is subject to the fees that we plan on collecting from the Aspen Wood development. So if it is not received, we will be negative in fiscal year 2020, 2021. The Infrastructure Maintenance Fund has an ending fund balance of 1.2 million. As I mentioned, no general fund contribution this coming fiscal year, and it will go negative in at the end of 21-22 if there's no general fund contribution. It does not include the Doherty Valley Tree Management Program or any Doherty Valley CSA funded projects. And the total cost for the planned work for the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund is $659,000. All right, so I put together a slide that showed unfunded CIPs, and the list was narrowed down to this. We have the Doherty Valley CSA projects, which are really funded by the general fund. And these 4 projects are all scheduled for fiscal year 2021. So what staff did was look at each one of these items and try to get this number down to minimize the amount of funding that we might need and lessen the impact on the general fund. And as a result, we are proposing in the second column The proposed 2021, a total allocation of 83,840. And then at mid-year, we would come back for a possible allocation of 120,000. So what we're doing is we're deferring the street landscape planting renovation. Sean and his group have a lot of work on their plates, so they're going to spread that out, and we can ask for that allocation in 21-22. We do have some fountain repairs that does have to be done right away, which is the Rancho San Ramon Children's Display Pump. And then the 44,000 is for the Bollinger Canyon Fountain LEDs. It's an LED upgrade, so it would be a savings if we could change those out. And then the other two irrigation items, we want to make sure that there's funding there in case a pump or a system goes out, that we have the funding available. And then if we need it, then we'll ask for the remaining monies at mid-year. Does that make sense?
How old is the pump in Rancho, the children's thing in Rancho San Ramon Park?
I do not know. I would have to, I'll look that up for you.
Okay,
That'll be close to 10 years.
really? I think the park was that old.
10 years?
No, I don't think the park's that old. All right, well, just curious. Go ahead, Maria. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, so our next steps, we'll be going to the council tomorrow for the unfunded CIPs. Parks Commission the following day, TAC the following week. The 5-year CIP will be presented to the full council on May 26th. And the Planning Commission on June 2nd, with the final adoption hopefully on June 9th. So that is the end of my presentation. Do you have any additional questions?
No, that's very good. Thank you. Well, that COP is really helping out. Of course, it's got to all back, but it really is helping out.
So there's a lot of work that's going to be done on the trees in Doherty Valley, but we're using money that's already been allocated essentially.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. I'm fine by me.
Yep.
So do we need to do anything, Christina?
I don't believe so. I think it was just provide direction to staff, correct, Maria?
Yes, that is correct.
It's ready to go to the, it's ready to go to the next, well, it's ready to go to the Parks Commission, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one question.
Of course.
Maso Menos, we start the design on the Iron Horse Trail overcrossing. Design's completed January next year or the year after, I forget which.
2022.
How long is a project like that? So the construction itself, is that a 2-year gig?
It's a good 2 years. I think Robin is online if he could pipe in, but it's a good 2 years.
That's fine. I was just sort of running the magnitude. I mean, it's pretty complicated, I'm sure.
Yes.
Keeping everybody moving. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next item. Got to go to my other computer here. All right, 5.2. Review of reserve fund study and preliminary FY 2020-21 operating capital budgets for the landscaping and lighting district number 1984-1. Sean, you're up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm going to share a screen here and pull up my PowerPoint. Give me a second here.
Has anybody joined from the public, Christina?
No.
Yeah, this might go quicker than it has in the past, Scott.
Yep.
Go ahead, Sean. Thank you.
Okay. So tonight I'm going to talk about the Landscape and Lighting District, the 1984-1, the reserve study and preliminary operating budget. Staff recommendations, Zone 1 and 2, increase max rate and assessments by allowable CPI, which is 2%. Zone 8, increase assessments from $85 to $95. Their maximum rate is $115. Zone 13, increase assessment from $685 to $705. Their max rate is $1,000. And Zone 19, Glass House, increase max rate of assessments by allowable CPI, which again is 2%. More staff recommendations. We're looking at some decreases this year. Zone 3, decrease assessments from 110 to 90,000 to 90. Max rate is 110. Zone 10, decrease assessments from 380 to 350. Max rate is 380. Zone 14, decrease assessment from 175 to 165. The max rate of 175. And Zone 15, decrease assessments from 275 to 250. The max rate of 300. No changes in assessments for citywide lighting Zone 1, Zones 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, and 16 through 18. Here's some facts about the Landscape and Lighting District to go over. District was formed in 1984. Annual property owner assessments, fund maintenance and public landscaping, lighting, and other amenities. There are 19 separate zones, 2 citywide zones, and 17 special zones. District reestablished each year by council action. Maximum rates versus assessment rates. A maximum rate is not to exceed assessment amount voted on and approved by property owners for each zone based on improvements to be maintained and replaced, renovated. The actual assessment may be less. Assessment rates to be levied. Actual assessment charged annually to property owners on property tax bills. Assessments may be increased, decreased by city council action up to the maximum assessment rate. Maximum assessment rates. Citywide Zone 1 and 2, city may increase the maximum rate annually based on CPI up to 2% per property owner approved ballot in 2006. Special Zones 3 through 12, maximum rates set by property owner balloting in 1997. Zone 5 by special balloting election in July of 1997. Increase would require property owner ballot approval. Special Zones 13 through 17, established after 1997. Maximum rates established through property owner balloting at time of creation. Increase would require property owner ballot approval. Special Zones 18 and 19, established after 1997. Maximum rates established through property owner balloting at time of creation. Property owners approved maximum increase of up to 2% annually based on CPI. 2021 reserve study assesses adequacy of funds over 30 years, renovations, replacements, emergency repairs, and unforeseen circumstances. So here's some recommended increases. Zone 1, citywide lighting, is approximately 3,900 streetlights. Zone 2, citywide landscaping in the public right-of-way. 2006 property owner approved ballot allows for annual maximum assessment rates adjustments based on CPI not to exceed 2%, which in 2021, the 2% increase would be $2.03 per unit. Some more recommended increases: special zone assessments, landscaping and other amenities that provide special benefit to properties within zone. DEERWOOD Zone 8 increased from 85 to 95. Crown Ridge Zone 13 increased from 685 to 705. Recommended an increase for Glass House would again be 2%, and that would bring 2021 the 2% increase the parcel $14,656.09 per parcel. Recommended decreases. Canyon Lake Zone 3 decreased from 110 to 90. Old Ranch Estates Zone 10 decreased from 380 to 350. Four Oaks Zone 14 decreased from 175 to 165. Circle E Zone 15 decreased from 275 to 250. Two underfunded special zones. We have Vista San Ramon Zone 4. The max assessment rate is 180. It goes negative in FY 24-25. West Branch Zone 6, maximum assessment at 380, goes negative in FY 23-24. Public outreach for Zone 4 and Zone 6, consider balloting for FY 21-22. So here's just, I threw this in there just as something to look at. I know we looked at Canyon Lakes as far as the fountains. So I kind of threw in, you know, when the fountains are on, and this is what it looks like. And these are what the fountains look like when they're off, as you can see underneath there. Just to highlight in the next 10 years of what CIPs we have planned for the fountains, 21-22, the fountain CL2 tablet feeders for $3,920 or $3,920. 23-24 tablet feeders again for $6,000. 24-25 fountain display motors for $78,400. 24-25 fountain sand filters for $16,000, and then 25-26 recoat step fountain for $225. And actually, these were pushed back a couple years just to keep West Branch from going in the negatives sooner. Just another cost just to look at, the annual operating cost just for the maintenance contract for the step fountain is $18,600 a year. Maintenance contract for reflection fountain is $17,388 a year. We're spending approximately $70,000 a year on PG&E. Maintenance and equipment, repairs and supplies for almost another $7,000. And then the water budget also includes landscaping. So I don't know how to have a true number, but $70,000 overall for landscaping and fountains, I should say. Here's some projects we have for this year for CIPs. Signal pole painting from Zone 1. And there's a couple pictures of that. They definitely need to be done. Citywide landscaping, we have $72,000 for some landscape renovations, some tree removal and replacement. So we're looking at sections of San Ramon Valley Boulevard and then parts of El Costa Boulevard as far as landscape renovations. And then Deerwood Road, the median, which is part of Citywide also. Canyon Lakes, we're looking at $45,000 for capital improvements. We're looking at doing some stuff on Crow Canyon Road on the hillside, and then also some stuff going down Bollinger Canyon Road before you get to the fountain on the north side. And then here's some tree removals that we did this year. You can see we lost some big pine trees, and this is what we replaced it. We just put these slides in here just to show you the magnitude of some of these trees and the, you know.
Kind of trees, that's what happens, right? You wouldn't plant them now.
Yeah, Aleppo pine, and they're all going.
Grow fast and die fast.
Yeah, exactly. Vista San Ramon, we're finally going to take out these oleander trees. The residents actually wanted this because they're going to stay with stakes on them forever. I mean, I've worked here for a long time, and these tree stakes and those trees haven't grown since I think I started here. So we're looking at taking those out and putting some crepe myrtles in, so at least they get some growth and it finally finishes off these corners because it.
I'm going to blame Jeff Galt for that. What do you think, Sean? Should we do that?
I'm okay with it. Then Summerwood Loop, we're looking at doing along the Iron Horse Trail. This year we did take out the grass along Winterset and what was the other one? Fallen Leaf Circle. And we removed the grass there, and we actually redid the irrigation, converted it to bubblers, and put Asian jasmine in there. So now we're looking at doing the back side of the Iron Horse Trail this year for $10,000. West Branch, some capital improvement projects. I mean, we have $7,000 there. So It's going to be some infill and, you know, kind of whatever we can do there. That fountain is really expensive. Big Creek, we're looking at removing some of the turf. I mean, it's, yeah, for $25,000, we can change out some turf and re-landscape it and make it look really nice on some of these corners.
Thank you. Good idea.
DEERWOOD, we have $5,000. We're just going to do some infill. We did a lot of work there. And I don't know if anybody's driven by that hillside on DEERWOOD Drive lately that we did about probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's filling in really nice and it's really looking good. And I think if we, you know, work on that median also with a citywide, DEERWOOD's going to be happy. Old Ranch Estates, we have $20,000 there. We're going to start looking at all the courts. These have never been re-landscaped. The irrigation is all drip irrigation. It's spaghetti tubing, and it's all pretty much no good. So we're looking at, you know, doing a couple courts at a time and going through this and redoing the irrigation, re-landscaping it, and really making it so when the homeowners come home, they really have something nice. Village Parkway, we're looking at Shavano. There's a bunch of turf over there that's really in poor condition. The tree roots are just taking over, and we're going to look at taking some turf areas out and re-landscaping this for $15,000. El Nido, we just have $5,000 there for some tree removal and replacement. You can see a couple of the trees are really leaning, and they're in poor structure. We just really need to replace those. Crown Ridge, this is along San Ramon Valley Boulevard. We've done pretty much all of the interior of Crown Ridge. Now we're looking more of the arterial. So this is an area that really has been bothering me for a while that I really want to do. So granted, we only have $5,000 for this, but hopefully we'll get started on this and maybe we continue this in future years. No scheduled capital improvements for 2021 in Country View. The reason we didn't look at Country View really is because of the Crow Canyon widening. I think we may get some freebie there for Country View because of the widening. 4 Oaks, we've done a lot of work there. Circle E, I don't know if anybody's driven by Circle E lately, but it is absolutely beautiful. We've done a lot of work there. Thomas Ranch, we've done work there. Henry Ranch is a small area. Old Ranch Summit, we don't have anything planned, and Glass House, we don't have anything planned for this year. Staff recommendations is basically the summary of what I talked about earlier. We'd like to increase zones 1 and 2 by the allowable CPI. We'd like to increase zone 8 from 85 to 95. We'd like to increase zone 13 from 685 to 705. We'd like to increase Glass House zone 19 by the allowable CPI. We'd like to decrease zone 3 from 110 to 90. We'd like to decrease zone 10 from 380 to 350. We'd like to decrease zone 14 from 175 to 165. We'd like to decrease zone 15 from 275 to 250. And then there's no change to the rest of the zones. Zones 4 and 6, we definitely like to start beginning public outreach and consider balloting in 21-22. Next steps, reestablishing the district, steps taken annually by the city council, adopt a resolution describing new improvements and ordering the preparation and filing of the engineer's report. This was done on March 24th. This is complete. Approve the engineer's report and adopt a resolution of intention to levy and collect assessments and setting a public hearing on the 26th. And then conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution confirming the diagram and assessments and levying the assessments on June 9th. Okay, that's what I have tonight. Any questions?
Scott?
No, I'm a little surprised to see you decreasing a couple of the zones, but obviously you've got enough money and enough in the reserves to keep those going for now.
Yeah, I think we're looking good. We didn't really have anything planned in those areas, so we didn't want to increase, so we didn't want to keep it the same. We didn't want to build up the assessments, the reserves too high.
Okay,
Yeah, the real intent is just to keep the reserve fund at a level that it doesn't look like that we're just,
Banking money.
yes. So we just, and it's the right thing to do is to reduce the assessments.
Okay.
Signed in good faith, that's for sure. No members of the public, Christina?
We have no members of the public present.
Okay, so I'll open and close public comment on that. I'm fine with it going forward to the council, I guess.
I concur.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Item 5.3.
All right.
Gentleman from Canada.
I just wanted to go over the preserves engineers report. It's obviously quite a bit different from what you just saw for the old L&L. That's because we're really still in a process of forming the district, if you will. All the paperwork has been done and the district has been established, but to date, we haven't accepted any improvements. That's expected to change soon. It could be before the end of the current fiscal year. So most of what we've done with this engineer's report is really just project from the original engineer's report and take into account the status of the preserve. So this district is a little bit different, and some of the rules that were set up were slightly different, but we have looked at the original projected costs and come up with a projected annual maintenance cost for next year of $86,333 for routine maintenance. Again, that was just based on taking our original estimate and increasing it by inflation. Similarly, we increased the annualized replacement costs by inflation. So the new projection is $54,783. There's a contingency of $10,583, administration costs of $8,500, and that gives us a total projected cost of $160,200. And again, that's based on an assumption that by the end of next fiscal year, we'll have taken over 100% of the improvements out there and we'll be maintaining everything. Now, even though the cost is $160,200, the maximum that we can actually assess is $148,186. So then to determine the assessment, I used a conservative assumption again that we would only have 256 units that are accessible. That means that the maximum assessment could be at the maximum rate. In the case of the preserve, the assessment rate is adjusted by a minimum of 2% or CPI. So we adjusted by CPI, which was 2.9%. And so the maximum assessment this year will be $373.66. So that'll give us a total anticipated assessment this year of at least $95,657. So as you can tell, that's obviously a shortfall from my worst case scenario prediction of what we would be required to take care of this year and the total costs. However, we have a reserve already of $70,632 because we assessed last year and then ended up really not taking possession of anything. So we have more than enough funds to take care of the worst case scenario maintenance cost while accumulating funds for our annualized replacement cost. So once we've taken over assets to maintain, we'll start producing reserve fund studies similar to what you just saw and establishing CIPs to account for the long-term replacement of assets. Do you have any questions on this item?
Scott?
Yeah, so next year, we'll be taking over 100% of the common areas that are associated with the district, is that right? I mean,
That's a conservative projection, yes.
I recognize you have a reserve from last year, and you have an income for next year, but the income for next year wasn't sufficient to cover the expenses. So we're going to draw down those reserves. The following year, will we have enough to cover the expenses?
Yes, I would anticipate that because the rate of the rate of building, of course, will continue, and the projection is already conservative. On top of that, the reserves include establishment of, it's not just all our operating costs. So the funds that you see are sufficient to have all of our operating covered, plus all the annualized costs we'd see for improvements that don't need replacing for up to 30 years. So I do not anticipate a problem in the year after next.
And going forward as well, obviously with a minimum of, what do we say, 2.9, or what is it, minimum 2%?
Minimum 2% or CPI.
Okay. So fundamentally, there is no maximum then.
Correct.
Is there a cap?
No.
Okay, so this will be the healthiest district we have going forward.
It's the only
Hopefully,
district, it's the only district financed the way you should be financed something like this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the minimum of 2% or CPI is a prescription for underfunded districts, right? But there was nothing we could do about that 25 years or so ago. So makes sense. Robin, you said 250 odd homes. The CIP anticipates getting 500,000 from Faria for the 300th. I guess it's the 300th permit issued, isn't it? It's not the actual.
The real difference is that the 256 is 256 benefit points. So that's actually based on some of the units out there. They're really using the same benefit point system as the existing L&L, and a condominium is only assessed at 0.75. So some of the units out there are less than 1.
Thank you. Scott, do you have any? I'm fine with it. I believe Robin. We're good.
Great, thank you.
So you can proceed with forwarding it to the, I guess next step, forward it to the council, right?
Yes.
When would that be? Oh, I guess, when does the council take action on that?
That's supposed to be May 26th.
Okay. Do we have anything else?
Committee member comments?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Joe, I gotta say, I appreciate the fact that you put a tie on. You're a better man than me. All right, I guess we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. And I guess we'll see you, most of you tomorrow. Good work. Good night.